Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an honor and privilege to have you guys joining me here today, as it is every day as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news. Bunch of friends standing around a virtual water cooler, sharing our love of all things on the screens. And we got a lot of stuff to cover today. We're going to start things off today with a couple of new trailers that have dropped. First off, we're going to start with this. The brand new trailer this morning dropped for the upcoming Taron Egerton film, Robin Hood. Now, we heard about this film a while ago, and I'm going to tell you what. I liked the concept of it. I did. When I heard about this Robin Hood film and heard about what they were going for, I liked the concept of it. Was not thrilled with the initial trailers, not thrilled with the initial ones, but now the new trailer has come out, and I can tell you, I'm still not thrilled. I'm still not thrilled, despite some really solid things the film seems to have going for it. First off, obviously, you always got to mention Ben Mendelsohn when he's in something. This time around, he's playing the sheriff, obviously. He's starting to get typecast a little bit as the villain. I mean, he's always the bad guy, right? Whether it's in Rogue One, Ready Player One, Robin Hood 1, whatever it is, he always seems to be playing kind of the villain and the bad guy, but whatever. And in Captain Marvel, Captain Marvel 1, he's playing a bad guy there too. Might start to be getting a little bit of typecast, but that's okay. He's just so good in the role. I don't mind that either. Now, on top of that, you got a hell of an actor in Jamie Foxx playing the role. This time they made it very clear he is playing John. He's playing Little John. So kind of an amalgamation of the character we got from Kevin Costner's Robin Hood and Little John, kind of merging them. So this guy is kind of Robin Hood's mentor and all that kind of stuff. And of course, you got your lead in the film, who I'm a big fan of, Taron Egerton. By the way, if you did not see Eddie the Eagle with Taron Egerton and Hugh Jackman, you're missing out. It is actually more than Kingsman. It is my favorite performance by this guy. I think he has a lot of potential. I think he can be really great. And, he shows some stuff here in Robin Hood. I gotta tell you what, though, there's nothing about this trailer that really appeals to me, other than I'm still stuck on the stuff that appeals to me about this movie is all in concept. None of the images have jumped out to me, none of the trailers, none of the clips, nothing has really jumped out at me as being exceptionally good. As a matter of fact, if anything, more and more, this trailer is starting to feel a little bit of a ripoff of Guy Ritchie's Arthur movie. Remember the one they did with Sons of Anarchy boy? I actually kind of like that movie, but whatever. This kind of feels more like a carbon copy or ripoff of that. It seems like they're just going for that stylistically, but none of it works. Now, this trailer, they give us a little more of the background of Robin. Of course, Robin of Locksley goes off to fight in the Crusades. It changes him. He comes back to a different England. Okay, so good traditional stuff there. I like it. The sheriff is oppressing the people. He's got to stand up to the sheriff. Good traditional stuff there. Dig it. But there's just something about the execution of it and the tone of it that has not worked for me yet. Now, look, I still believe this is a movie that has potential. I still believe this is a movie that has potential. This could be great. But if we're just talking about the trailer, a trailer ain't convincing me it's going to be any good. I mean, that's for none of the trailers have worked for me up to this point. I haven't seen anything, no standout performance moments. Like, we're not talking about our first trailer, and we're like on our third trailer or something like that. You got to start putting something in these trailers to get me excited. Show me some strong performance moment. I don't mind that you didn't have that in the first trailer. That was just the first trailer. Fine. But this one, give me something that if I'm a fan that I can hold on to and say, this will give me hope that this movie's going to be any good. And I'm just not getting that yet. Now, I'm not saying it looks terrible. Don't misquote me. I'm not saying the movie looks terrible. Not at all. I'm just saying they haven't done anything to get me beyond, meh. Yeah, I'll see it. Meh. But I have absolutely no enthusiasm. And they're not giving me, even if I wanted to feel enthusiasm, these trailer spots are not giving me ammunition to get other people excited. You know what I'm saying? You ever have a property you really love and you're just waiting for them to put out something great so you can use that to take to your friends and say, look, guys, this is going to be awesome. I'm waiting for Robin Hood to give me something of that, and it's just not doing it. So, yeah, another trailer. Still nothing to get excited about. Anyway, the movie comes out in November. We're going to find out soon enough whether or not it's any good. All right, let's go also over to this and off the top. Another new trailer that dropped just late last night is the first trailer. Now remember, this is the first trailer for X-Men Dark Phoenix, or as they're just calling it, Dark Phoenix. So the first trailer, this is one people have been waiting for a while, even though the movie's still 5 months away. But the first trailer's come out, and I'm going to say this. For a first trailer, pretty good. Pretty good for a first trailer. Understanding, like, unlike that Robin Hood trailer, which was a second or third trailer, you expect more from it by then. This is the first trailer, just introducing us to the fact that this movie's coming. Here's some of the people in it. This is the basic idea. I'm not expecting, I've been saying the last couple of days, we got the new Dark Phoenix trailer coming, but let's not get our expectations too high. This is a first trailer for a movie that's still 5 months away. So let's just ease the expectations. But I got to say, on that level, not bad. Nothing that's making me jump up and down. Nothing that makes me go, oh, well, let me take that back. There are a couple of moments in the trailer that made me go, oh, like really positively, but just a couple, and that's fine. But overall, generally pretty solid. Nothing in this trailer made me roll my eyes. It's a promising first trailer. We'll have to wait and see how the second one turns out. But anyway, the one moment, I don't know why, but this moment really got me. I loved it. It's that scene in the trailer where, at least in the trailer, it makes it look like Jean Grey Phoenix is bringing that helicopter down. And then it cuts to her. And there's something about her disposition, the way she's carrying herself, the look on her face of total darkness and disinterest while destroying something or killing people. There's something about this shot that I paused the trailer, rewound it, watched the scene again, paused, rewound it, watched the clip again, rewound it, watched the clip again, probably about 6 or 7 times. There's just something about this shot that really got me and got really to the heart of it. Also, it's good to see Michael Fassbender in there again, and of course getting the traditional Magneto helmet on. Now look, I am dying to see Michael Fassbender in something I actually like him in again, because he is for such a world-class actor, he's on such a horrible streak right now of terrible movies, whether it's Light Between Oceans, the abysmal Assassin's Creed, the even worse The Snowman. I mean, this dude's on a bad roll. For an actor of his caliber, we need to see Michael Fassbender again in something that we really love him in. And I'm hoping this will be his chance to do it again. I mentioned there were a couple of things that really gave me moments. That one shot of Sophie Turner bringing down the helicopter, that was one of them. The other one is a Michael Fassbender moment. Because in the trailer, and I even tweeted this out because I loved the quote and I love the way it was said. But Charles says, I'm sorry. And Eric or Magneto says, you're always sorry, Charles. And then there's always a speech and nobody cares. Oh, that's a great line. You're always sorry, Charles. And then there's always a speech and nobody cares. It epitomizes kind of that fundamental difference between Eric and Charles and what separates them, despite the fact that underneath it all, they probably have a very deep love for each other. But that just kind of captured that great. And I love it when you can capture the essence of a story or of a relationship, or capture the essence of a character in like a single line. And like that kind of was a bunch of that to me. And I really loved that moment. So that was cool. Now, then we're getting into some stuff here. They do a couple of shots of a scene that we've seen in magazine pictures and things like that. There's a funeral going on, right? This is a pretty good shot of James McAvoy as Charles at the funeral, looking really sad. And a lot of people always been speculating, well, who is it that dies? I think this trailer gives us a pretty clear indication as to who dies. Unless it's a big misdirect, which it might be. But it seems to me this trailer is giving us a pretty clear picture of who it is that dies. And I think it's Mystique. I think it's pretty clear it's Mystique. There are 3 shots in particular that make me believe it's Mystique. Number 1 is the shots we see of the funeral. We don't actually see Mystique there, at least not that we know of. Charles is clearly pretty torn up about it. Now, you could make an argument that Charles would be pretty torn up about the death of any of his X-Men, but there's a particular fondness. There's a sister relationship he has with Mystique in these movies, so that obviously is pretty hard. The other shot is the scene where Hank and Charles are sitting in the kitchen, and you hear Hank goes, "This is your fault, Charles." And then Hank just like whips like the glass off the table, which is something Hank would not do under normal circumstances with Charles. We know in these movies, Hank is in love with Mystique. So that suggests there's a thing going on there that maybe she's gone. But the one that really does it for me involves Hank again and Mystique. And it's this shot here that it really, now this could be something else. It could be something else. I'm just saying it looked like Mystique is dead. And the way her head rises to his, the movement of it to me suggests that he's actually lifting her head to his. He obviously looks like he's in grief and his pain, putting his head on hers. So those things to me, and I'm sure there are many other people online probably speculating the same thing. All that to me suggests that Mystique and Jennifer Lawrence finally is going to be out of the... I love Jennifer Lawrence. Don't get me wrong. I love Jennifer Lawrence. I think she is one of the biggest world-class actresses in the world today, but she has clearly never cared about this X-Men franchise, and I've not wanted her in these movies for a while. Just go off and make these other great films that you do, Jennifer. Anyway, but it seems to me, so unless we're in the middle of a big misdirect, which is, again, completely possible, it seems like they're warming us up to the idea that Jennifer Lawrence's character Mystique is going to die in this movie. And then, of course, there's what they would probably consider their money shot. And it's a very, very good shot. And because one of the things I like about this shot with Sophie Turner is the subtlety of it. You know, they don't do the big, huge, eyes glowing power thing, which you've done in other shots. But it's a very subtle shot, just with the coloration of the eyes and the almost fire underneath her skin, the cracking of her skin. Very subtly, if you watch the shot, the cracks grow and the lines grow, but it's done very slowly and it's done very subtly. And I like that. I thought that was pretty good. Now, look, I'm hearing some people online already saying things like, this just feels like X-Men The Last Stand. Well, if you mean they did a Jean losing herself to the Phoenix storyline, then yes. Because that's what it is. We've known that already, so I don't know why anybody's acting surprised. Like, wait a minute. This is Jean falling to the Dark Phoenix Force, just like in Last Stand. Like, the movie's called Dark Phoenix. At what point did you not understand that? But, so yeah. But honestly, I don't feel there's a lot. See, some people are saying, man, this feels exactly like that movie. And I don't get that at all. I get that they're taking a similar storyline that they're taking and redoing here. I get that part. But nothing else in it really feels all that similar to me. Again, not a trailer that blew my socks off. If this was the final trailer for X-Men Dark Phoenix, I wouldn't be all that excited about it. But as a first trailer, yeah, I thought it was pretty solid. It gave me a couple of woo moments. Gave me a couple of them. Gave me a good sense for the characters, where everybody's at. So yeah, for me, fairly solid first trailer. Again, it's not ammunition for me as a fan to go and show everybody, you should check out this Dark Phoenix movie because of this trailer. No, not at all. But again, it's the first trailer. Let's see what happens once they get into the second and third trailers. But a couple of good moments, a couple of key little hints, and overall, not a bad first trailer. Movie opens up in February, Valentine's Day, I believe. Valentine's Day 2019. Of course, Fox has had success with releasing superhero movies on Valentine's Day. Of course, Deadpool. So we'll see how that all works out for X-Men Dark Phoenix. All right. With the trailer stuff out of the way, let's go on to our email topics today. How do you guys submit a topic or a question to be on the John Campea Show? It's easy. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less, or else I wouldn't even be able to fit them on the screen. Okay, let's get to the first email of the day. And the first email today comes to us from Darth Impact, who writes, Hey, John, hear the news? Hellboy got pushed back to April 2019. A lot of people are panicking, but to me, it's just them putting finishing touches on it. Also, putting it in the same month as Avengers 4 and Shazam. Foolish or confident? Thanks, stay filthy. All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yes, news did drop yesterday that Hellboy has been moved off its January release date, moving 3 months back into April. So that dropped yesterday afternoon, shortly after we finished the John Campea show yesterday, and now we know that's happening. Are they pushing it to put on finishing touches? No, this movie's done. The movie's done. They didn't push it to put on finishing touches. That had nothing to do with it. They just decided to change the release date. You know, yesterday on The Weekly Hero, Robert Meyer Burnett and I, and by the way, it's up on the channel now. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. It was a lot of fun yesterday. Robert Meyer Burnett and I were talking about that yesterday. And Robert feels that the move suggests a lot of confidence on the part of the studio, thinking, you know what? This movie's good enough. We don't need to release it in the dumping ground of January. Although I think there's potential to make a lot of money putting a good, popular movie in one of those dumping ground months. I think there's money to be made, but whatever. Robert's idea, and I don't disagree with him, his notion was that, look, April is now kind of the unofficial start of the movie season, the summer movie season. Really, it's May, but technically, in a way, you could sort of make the argument that lately April's kind of becoming that month. You've got stiff competition in there. You got Shazam coming out, and then in May, you've got Avengers 4 coming out. So you got stiff competition, all that kind of stuff. All that added up to Robert feeling like this was a giant show of confidence from the studio in the movie to move it into April. That we believe we can put this in a month when more people go to the movies, and even though there's some stiff competition there, we believe our film will do well. And he sees it as a sign of confidence. And while that's not my first notion, I honestly can't disagree with him. I mean, moving it, first of all, this movie has been done for a while. They didn't need extra time. They are still releasing a trailer at New York City Comic Con in October. We've known that too. So that's all coming as well. So the jump does surprise me. I am surprised that they're moving it into April. But it's not that big of a move going from January to April. And it actually does have hints of confidence that you're taking it from a pretty easy schedule into a fairly challenging schedule. And that's really the big thing. Look, the report in the Hollywood Reporter brings up a couple things when they say this. The film's release date has been pushed back to April 12th, 2019. Summit Entertainment announced Wednesday. It previously had been set to open on January 11th. The new date means Hellboy will open just 1 week after superhero movie Shazam from Warner Brothers and DC. That film opens April 5th. April 12th, 2019 already has a few wide releases set to debut, and Hellboy will now square off against Robert Downey Jr.'s The Voyage of Dr. Dolittle from Universal. See, this is the one bit that makes me question the wisdom of this move. Look, I believe big superhero movies can live in the same month. I just don't believe it's wise to put it on the exact next week of a big superhero movie. Like, make it 2 weeks apart. That's fine. 2 week separation, in my opinion, is enough time. That's enough space. But putting it right the next week after Shazam? I got to be honest with you. I question that a little bit. I question whether that was wise. Does it show confidence? Yes. Does it show some testicular fortitude? Absolutely it does. But I do question the wisdom of it. And Robert Downey Jr., and they're making a big deal out of this Dolittle movie of his. It's got a lot of big stars in it, obviously being led by Robert Downey Jr. Putting it on the same day? Now, granted, a Dr. Dolittle movie and a Hellboy, they're going to be going after different demographics, yes. But still, it's a fairly big film you're now opening against. So, on the one hand, yeah, it does show some confidence. But on the other hand, I wonder if it was wise. I can't help but wonder that it might have been wiser just to keep it in January. But we're going to have to wait and see. I'm always belly aching about studios should show more confidence in their movies. And here you got a studio showing more confidence, and I'm going, but was it wise? Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. And the next topic today comes to us from Film Freak, who writes, "Hey John, love the show, as everyone should keep my Let me try this again. Hey, John, love the show. As everyone should, my question is what happened to Toy Story 4? No concept art, synopsis, or cast have been revealed. For a movie coming out in 2019, do you think it's been scrapped, or is Disney waiting for the right moment? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Film Freak. And you know what, Film Freak? With all due respect and all the love of one film fan to another brother film fan, it never ceases to amaze me how impatient we as film fans are. Not just minorly impatient, but it's like, wait a minute. It's 9 months till a movie comes out. We should know everything about this movie by now. Guys, the Toy Story release date is still 9 months away. That means you or one of your significant others could get pregnant today and you still would not have had the baby by the time this movie comes out. Put that in perspective. You can get pregnant today and your baby still may not be here by the time this movie comes out. It's a long ass way away. This movie is an eternity away from now. It's a long time till this movie comes out. Why? I mean, I'm always bringing this up. Why should they release concept art right now? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it if they do, but why should they? The movie's not 9 months away. Why should they release a synopsis now? The movie's still 9 months away. I mean, you can. Sure, you can, and we've seen movies do it. But there's no real purpose to it, right? Any buzz you get from it is going to be dead in a couple of weeks. So what's the point? And I think we're seeing a very good, slow, but definitive shift in Hollywood of closing their marketing windows to make their marketing windows shorter. And that is something I've been saying Hollywood needs to do for years. Because there was a period of time not long ago then when the marketing window was getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Like we were getting to the point where a movie's 11 months away and it would be unusual if they hadn't put out a first trailer yet. You know? And those marketing windows were getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I think they finally started to wise up that, oh, we're just wasting time, effort, and money by starting marketing, anything more than 7 months out. We're really wasting time and money and effort. We're really not going to get any benefit when this movie opens in 10 months if we do marketing for it right now. So I think they realize, so this movie is still very, very far away. Now, it's funny you bring up this question now because just yesterday, one of the voice cast of Toy Story, Tim Allen, who does the voice of Buzz Lightyear, always has, he was actually being interviewed and he talked a little bit about Toy Story. And it sounds pretty good. Anyway, this is what Tim Allen had to say. He said, I got to resist getting emotional. I don't want to give it away, but this is an incredibly great story. It is so emotional. It's so funny. It's so big. The idea they've come up with, and I'm startled. I couldn't even get through the last scene. I would love to be a Washington leaker. I just can't do it though. I can't give any more away. They've got great characters, but a couple of scenes towards the end were really hard to get through. Oh my God. Look, if you're a Toy Story fan and that doesn't give you chills, I don't know what else does. Now, granted, it's one of the cast members from the movie. Of course, he's going to say, our upcoming movie is great. That's what we expect. But he sounded particularly enthusiastic. And saying things like, it gets so emotional, I had a hard time getting through the last scenes, and it's so funny, and it's so big, and it's so blah, blah, blah. Hearing a guy who's done all the other Toy Story movies say stuff like that, that's pretty encouraging. What I am curious about is, this movie was underway under the watch of John Lasseter, but clearly it did a lot of its production and it finished itself off and is going to be finishing off without John Lasseter there. It is going to be interesting to see if we feel any difference in the film. But a lot of the creative brain trust are still there. And so I don't think this Toy Story is going to feel night and day different from the other ones. So yeah, this movie's still coming. They're still cranking it out. And I mean, if we're going to take Tim Allen at his word, it sounds like it's coming together pretty special. Sounds like they're putting together something pretty special. We'll have to wait and see. That thing comes out, of course, in June of next year, still a full baby away. All right, let's move on now to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Ryan Lewis, who writes, so, DC announced that they have now cast Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Journey Smollett-Bell for the roles of Black Canary and Huntress. I tell you what, I'm excited for this casting news. Not so much for the film, but but I welcome my mind on being changed. I'm a huge fan of Elizabeth since 10 Cloverfield Lanes. What are your thoughts? Yeah, well, I mean, like, I'm a little bit mixed on this whole thing about Birds of Prey. So for those of you who probably heard, the other day, they announced an official release date for Birds of Prey. I mean, they've put it on the calendar now. It's coming out in February of 2020. Just 2 months, or just a few months, I should say, after Wonder Woman comes out. 3 or 4 months after Wonder Woman comes out, we're going to get Birds of Prey coming out. So I did not see this sidebar that Ray created till right now. That's awesome. Ray does great stuff. Anyway, so I'm a little torn. On the one hand, I am not yet on board with this whole movement away from Batman, Superman, the fact that they've just been throwing Superman aside. I don't see the need for a Birds of Prey movie. I really don't. That being said, the casting that's coming together is pretty good. Now, first of all, I love Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I was down for a standalone Harley Quinn movie. Not completely on board for a Birds of Prey, but whatever. I am completely in love with the Mary Elizabeth Winstead casting. Absolutely in love with that. I love her. Yes, she was great in 10 Cloverfield Lane, but oh my gosh, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, her remake of The Thing, which was not great, but I'm telling you what, she was great in it, and 1,000 other things. Now, Journey Smollett-Bell, who's playing Black Canary, she was mostly known for her work in True Blood. True Blood is not a show that I really watched much of. So I have no opinion about her casting because I have nothing negative nor positive to say. I don't really remember watching her in much. But there are some friends of mine, including Robert Meyer Burnett, who did watch True Blood that are actually quite excited by her casting, so that's great. So the casting's coming together really nice. But again, the big thing for me in this is Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I love this girl. Even when she's playing John McClane's daughter in a bad Die Hard movie, even then, I like her. I just think she brings this charm. There is this I'm not going to use the word charisma, not like The Rock or Will Smith. She brings this unbelievable charm whenever she's on screen that just makes me fall in love with her every time she's in a movie. I just fall in love with her over and over again every time I see her in a movie. She's incredible. And I love that charm she's able to bring to her characters. Seeing her, and if you know much about Huntress, who can be very vicious and very violent, depending on the incarnation of Huntress they want to go for. But she can be a very, very vicious, sometimes heartless, violent character. It's going to be really interesting seeing Winstead bring her sensibilities to a role like that. So, end of the day, I'm still a little bit torn. I'm still not completely on board with this whole idea of even this movie in the first place. But hey, Margot Robbie as Quinn, Winstead as Huntress. And now you got an actress that I don't know much about in Journey, but a lot of other people are excited about as well, playing Black Canary. Okay, here's something interesting. In Deadline, they put kind of I don't know if you guys heard about this. Deadline, in one of their stories on this, put in kind of a throwaway line that said, this movie's taking place in a Gotham that is not protected by Batman. Now, none of us were expecting Batman to show up in this movie, right? I mean, none of us were dumb enough to think that Batman is actually going to show up in this movie. So that's fine. But what do you mean by a Gotham that is not protected by Batman? Now, was that just a wordplay thing? Was that just their way of saying Batman's not in the movie? Or are they actually saying, in this Gotham they're in, there's no Batman protecting Gotham? And so I read that and I'm like, whoa, wait. So are you saying this Batman's just not there? I wasn't expecting him to be in the movie, but are you saying he's not even in Gotham? This is a city right now without a protector? Is that what you're saying? And if so, what does that mean? Now, again, it was just from one little line that I may be completely misinterpreting. So I'm not going to get into it too awful much. I just wanted to bring it up and mention, I looked at that and I'm like, what does that mean? Consider me fascinated. Consider me fascinated by what that could possibly mean. All right, with that out of the way, let's go to the final email today. And the final email today comes to us from Praxis Pride, who writes, longtime viewer from London in the UK. Well, thank you so much, Praxis. With the amazing new Fantastic Beasts 2 trailer, it was a very good trailer. dropping yesterday, I got into a debate at work as to whether it's better to read a book before seeing the movie or vice versa. I say watch it first, as they invariably and understandably leave out chunks of the novel. What are your thoughts? All right. And it's interesting, Praxis, that you're bringing this up. And as you see in the sidebar here, the funny thing is, I know the trailer just led you into that debate. You weren't debating about Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, because there is no book, Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald, right? That's not a book that J.K. wrote. It's not a book. But I could see, but it's based on the Harry Potter worlds, and so it leads to that debate. This is a discussion that actually I have had many, many times over the years with a lot of different people about, okay, there's a movie coming out based on the book. Should you watch the movie first, or should you read the book first? My feeling has always been and continues to be this: don't read the book first. Now, I only say that in the circumstances that we know a movie is coming. Otherwise, don't avoid reading books just in case they make a movie about it one day. No, I'm just saying, if there's a movie coming out that I know is based on a book, my rule for myself is don't read the book first. Hold off on the book. And then if I like the movie, then go read the book later. And I think that's what most film fans should do. I think you should hold off on reading the book. Now, Praxis, you kind of hinted at it, but my reasoning is very similar to yours, although a little bit different. Number one, and this is really the heart of it. When you read a book, one of the great things about reading books is your imagination fills in a lot of the pieces. Your imagination creates the world you're reading about. When a line is said, your imagination creates a way that line is being said. When they're describing a scene, your mind and imagination creates the scene as an interpretation of the words you're reading. When all that kind of stuff, and there's big chunks of books that get, like, because, a novel can be 500 pages and a screenplay is about 110 to 120 pages. So obviously a lot of stuff has got to be cut out. But the big thing to me is you create a template in your head of what that world, whatever that world is that you're reading about, and the characters in it look like, sound like, act like, feel like, smell like, sound like, all that kind of stuff. Your imagination makes that up. And what I have found with a lot of people, because it's happened to me, that when then you go into a movie and you already have in your head what this movie is supposed to look like, sound like, feel like, act like, when you already got all that in your head about what your interpretation of what this movie should look like because of what you read in the book, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment with the movie. You're no longer evaluating or judging the movie on its own merits. You're evaluating and judging the movie on your own personal interpretation of the book that you've already put a picture together of in your head. And I think that's a human tendency, and I think it's unavoidable. I think I've done it. I think you've done it, and all that kind of stuff. So to me, the only way to truly judge a movie that's based on a novel on its own true merits is just to make sure you don't read the book first. That's the only way to truly do it. It's the only way you can go into a movie with a clean slate in your head and just appreciate it for what it is. And you can come up going, oh, that movie was great. And then you can read the book and get all the extra pieces and get the different nuances and all that kind of stuff, and that's fine. But now you're not having that contaminate your experience of the movie. Because the only person who can make the movie the way your imagination made a book out to be is you. Everyone else is going to have a slightly different interpretation, a slightly different vision, a slightly different imagination that puts those pieces together. So, yeah, to me, now this is a subjective question. Everybody's going to have a different answer. But to me, it's a no-brainer. If there's a big book out and there is a movie coming, if you're a movie fan, look, if you're primarily a movie fan, wait until you see the movie. See the movie first, then read the book. If you're primarily a reading fan and you're primarily into books more than movies, well, then go ahead and read the book first. But for me, primarily as a movie fan, always I put off the book. I didn't read the Hunger Game books until after I saw the movies. And I'm glad I did it that way. But anyway, that's just kind of the way I do it. How do you guys do it? Do you have a personal rule? Do you do it differently from film to film? How do you approach this whole thing about should you read a book first or see the movie first? Jump into the comments section and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, with all that out of the way, let's have some time now to go over and take some live questions. You guys have been sending in a bunch already, so let's jump over to the live question portions right now. MuseTac Reviews writes, will we see Elektra in Daredevil Season 3? I'm going to guess yes. But I'm going to guess it's not going to be until the third, second, or last. Third to last, second to last, or last episode of the season. I don't think she's going to play a major part in it, and I'm just guessing. I don't think she's going to play a major part in it, but I do think we're going to see her. I do think she pops up at some point. Ben Hayusa writes, yes, Robert Burnett, that new Creed 2 trailer was great. I like the first one a lot. One of my top films of 2015. Michael B. Jordan has become one of my favorite actors today. Yeah, we were talking a lot about that Creed trailer that dropped yesterday, man. That was great. That trailer was great. Again, the second trailer. I was not over. You guys remember, I wasn't overwhelmed with the first trailer. But the second trailer is where they deliver the meat. You know what I'm saying? That's where they give you the guts of it. And that second trailer for Creed 2 that dropped yesterday was just phenomenal. My favorite part of that trailer is Rocky talking about Drago, saying, he broke things in me that ain't ever been fixed. Oh, so good. So good. He broke things in me that ain't ever been fixed. Oh, that's such an awesome line. So good. I love it. I'm getting giddy just thinking about it. But overall, it's a great trailer. Michael B. Jordan is one of the great actors right now working today. So yeah, man, full agreement across the board, dude. Leo Milmet writes, thoughts on Do the Right Thing? Trying to show it for the high school film club I'm the vice president of. We can show R, but people are just not on board. Well, I'll tell you what, I like. It is one of my, if not my favorite Spike Lee film. Well, no, I think BlacKkKlansman's my favorite Spike Lee film now. But before that, you can make an argument that Do the Right Thing was my favorite Spike Lee film. It's a wonderful film. It's a question that doesn't have a lot of black and white. And I don't mean that racially, I mean philosophically. There's not a lot of black and white. It's a whole lot of movie of gray. Flawed heroes. I like that movie a whole hell of a lot. It's something that I myself would love to watch. But, you know, for people that haven't seen it, if you just look at a cover of it, it kind of looks like a throwaway early 1990s, late 1980s kind of film. I mean, so somebody who doesn't know much about the movie, I could understand they're not feeling a lot of interest in watching it. I could get that. But yeah, push for it. I wouldn't, make it your final stand. But yeah, I would say push for it a little bit. Benny Yusa writes, the Dark Phoenix trailer was okay. Didn't blow me away. As you said, it was just an announcement trailer. Hopefully trailer 2 will do different. Yeah, like I said, for me, there were a couple of whoa moments, like that one line from Magneto, that one shot of Sophie Turner. Great moments. But nothing else to write home about. Nothing to feel discouraged about. Nothing to feel particularly encouraged about other than those two moments. So yeah, it was the first trailer. Fairly solid little trailer. Yeah, nothing to blow us away. The second one needs to impress us. This first one, not so much. The second one needs to impress us. Let's see what they deliver. Leo Milmet follows up from that first one. He says, it's a shame because it says a lot about humanity. How should I pitch it in a way that will appeal to high schoolers? I think it's very educational. Well, I mean, it doesn't say anything about humanity. Remember, a lot of these other people, they don't know what's in this movie. And to be fair to them, it doesn't look like that great of a movie. It doesn't. So be fair to them. I don't think it says anything about humanity that they're not all that down to see it. I think all that says is it's a movie from a different era that, quite frankly and honestly, doesn't look that great. So, no, I'll disagree with that. I don't think it says anything, but you got to understand, you know the movie. You know the movie. They don't. And I would venture to guess that had you not known the movie and you were just looking at it, you probably wouldn't think it looked all that great either. But you do know the movie and you know what value that it carries, and so do I. But we can't blame them for not feeling our same enthusiasm for it when they actually don't know it yet. How should you pitch it? Simple. Just tell somebody why this movie means a lot to you. That's it. Don't tell anybody why they should like a movie. Don't do this. Just tell them, here's why this movie is important to me. That's your best sales pitch. It really is. So give it a go, see what happens, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for you. You're able to make that work, man. Ben Rayner writes, the new Arrow trailer looks cool. I can't wait for the film. Yeah, the Robin Hood thing is like, but a lot of people were joking about that before, Ben, about how the first trailer kind of looked like an Arrow trailer. And in many ways it did, and they make it feel that way. More and more it's feeling like I said, it's a ripoff of the Arthur movie that came out like a couple years ago and bombed badly, even though I liked it, but whatever. Bombed badly. But yeah, a lot of people making those Arrow comparisons, understandably so. Tyler Yeats writes, and sorry, where we are. Tyler Yeats writes, hey, I saw the trailer for Dark Phoenix. I've seen Last Stand, but it's been a while, I guess. Why are people saying this looks similar to The Last Stand? Well, I think, to be fair, because there is a similar sub-storyline in it, except now it's the main storyline. Last Stand, one of the sub-storylines was the whole transition of Jean Grey to Dark Phoenix and her eventually losing control to it. That is now here again, only this time it's the main storyline. And I can understand people saying there are similarities. I don't agree with people who want to take that one similarity and go, this is just exactly the same movie as Last Stand. No, it's not. No, it's clearly not. But there are definitely similarities. They are retelling its story they tried once before and it didn't work. Let's face it, The Last Stand didn't work. The Last Stand had its moments. It did. Last Stand had its moments. But it's a movie that didn't really work, but it's a great storyline. So they decided to take that storyline and give it another shot. I'm all for it. Because that whole Dark Phoenix storyline didn't get its due in Last Stand. Hopefully, they can do it here. Again, I'm still skeptical because Simon Kinberg's directing. I love Simon Kinberg. I think he's great. But I don't like it when somebody who has never directed anything before takes a big major tentpole project and makes that their first directorial effort. And don't give me this, but John, he knows X-Men. So what? That has nothing to do with knowing how to direct. Just because you know X-Men doesn't mean you know how to direct a movie. I know Star Wars. That doesn't mean I should be directing a Star Wars film. Oh God, that doesn't mean I should be directing a Star Wars film. You know what I'm saying? So I'm still skeptical, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, Dakota Barber writes, love Fassbender's line regarding Professor X, love him as Eric. Oh man, seriously, that has been such a great chemistry. James McAvoy, like the things you like and the things you don't like about this new era of X-Men films, one of the elements that has always worked is the chemistry between Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy as Eric and Charles. They always crush it. They always crush it. I mean, with all the great stuff in Days of Future Past, which is one of the greatest comic book movies ever made, easily in the top 10. With all the great action and all the different stuff, my favorite part of that movie was just the scene of Eric and Charles sitting on a plane talking to each other. And that was probably my favorite part of Eric and Charles sitting across from each other, talking to each other. That's my favorite part of First Class, favorite part of Days of Future Past, and I have no doubt it's probably going to be my favorite part of Dark Phoenix as well. But that part has always worked. Even though some things have worked, some things haven't, that element has always worked. Tyler Yeats follows up with, I hope Insomniac makes more Marvel games. I love the superhero games when they come out for PS2, PS3. I mean, they're mostly known for like their Ratchet and Clank movie, right? Like Ratchet and Clank is what they're really most known for. And then that Purple Dragon, that was a Spyro. They were really popular. I mean, that was one of their big things as well. But here's hoping they grow and develop. All right, John DeBenedict writes, over under 50% that either Magneto or Mystique die. Well, I'm taking well, as I already talked about, I believe Mystique dies in this movie. This trailer, barring that it's a big misdirect, which it very well could be, barring a big misdirect, I think the trailer makes it pretty clear that Mystique dies in this one. So I don't think they kill Magneto. I don't think there's any way they kill Magneto. But Mystique, I'm not saying it's 100%, but I'll take over 50. Yeah, I'll definitely take over 50 on that. Ash here writes, why do you think they dropped X-Men from the title? Not sure, but I've only been noticing that. As a matter of fact, if I go over right now to IMDb, IMDb still lists the movie as X-Men Dark Phoenix. So IMDb is still listing it as X-Men Dark Phoenix. Now, on the poster they put out, it just says Dark Phoenix, but it's got the X at the end, right? In the O as in X-Men. So they got the X in Phoenix, but they put the O around as X-Men. So I don't know. Like, as of right now, it is still officially listed as X-Men Dark Phoenix, even though in the trailer it just said Dark Phoenix. So I don't know what's official and what isn't at this point. All I know, as of right now, it's listed still as X-Men Dark Phoenix. Orange Hand writes, say an award winner does something horrible. Do award shows have the power to take back an award they've given out, or are there rules against that? It all depends on the awards body. Every awards body will have its own governing set of bylaws. Personally, unless it's been revealed, and I don't care if this is sports, acting, whatever, unless something has been revealed that somebody cheated to get their award, I don't think you should take people's awards away. I know there are going to be a lot of people mad at me for that, but I'm sorry, it's true. Look, if Daniel Day-Lewis has won a couple of Academy Awards, if tomorrow he gets arrested for beating up an old lady, well, then screw Daniel Day-Lewis and put him in prison, but him beating up the old lady had nothing to do with him winning that acting award. So I don't see the connection. There might be exceptions to that. I mean, I don't know, but generally speaking, despite the fact that there are some circumstances that'll make it feel icky, I don't believe you should take away awards for bad behavior away from your profession unless your bad behavior is directly connected to you acquiring that award in the first place. Does that make sense? Like Kevin Spacey, I don't think you take away his Academy Award. He's done monstrous things, but unless you can show me that him doing monstrous things helped him get his Academy Award, then as icky as it feels, I don't take away that award because that's just rewriting history. Yeah, but I don't live and die. Like, I'm not planting my sword in that. Like, I'm not willing to, this is the line and I'm standing on it. No, that's just kind of my feeling about it a little bit. So anyway, yeah, there you go. That's just my thoughts on it for now. But again, I'm not standing on that. I mean, I could easily have my mind changed now, but that's just kind of my initial feelings on that. Dakota Barber writes, when are you seeing A Star Is Born? Going next Thursday. Yeah, I'm going to see it the first Thursday. We already bought our tickets. Again, I don't like going to press screenings. So I don't go to press screenings anymore. So unless they're at the AMC Burbank 16 or at the Warner Brothers lot or at the Disney lot, because those are all within a 5 or 10 minute drive of me. Other than that, I don't go to press screens. So I'll see that the first Thursday it's out. Me and Ann already got our tickets. I'm looking forward to it a lot. Marky Pop writes, hey, Freeze, I'm Batman, as he rides down the dinosaur. I'm not exactly sure when it became a thing that on this show people like putting in Batman and Robin references. I can't remember when that became a thing, but believe me, it's a thing here. I'm Batman. Static Space Sean writes, love that name. Hey, John, went to a Slash concert last night. I'm now deaf, so your show is on full blast, but totally worth it. Question is, do you still watch The Blacklist? I loved Red and Dembe's relationship. Dembe is seriously, I love that character. And I love the relationship between Red and Dembe. And Dembe is pretty much the baddest man on the planet. I mean, not only is he a physical beast, but he's also hyper intelligent, speaks, what do they say, like 7 languages, all this, like, he's just like the ultimate dude, right? I love the relationship. Yep, I'll say this though. I did not like the big twist in the season finale last year. Didn't like it at all. Didn't work for me at all. Not in the least. So I understand they had to do something big for the twist. What's in the bag? That had to be something big. And what they did was big, but to me it makes no sense. And I'm not thrilled about it. So it really quashed a lot of my enthusiasm for this season. But yes, I am totally up to date on Blacklist. I will watch it when it starts airing again. I just didn't like the little twist they had in it. It's funny, yesterday I went and did a podcast. You remember my friend Erin Cummings, the actress that I had in here and did an interview with? She was in Blacklist last season. She had one of the episodes was kind of about her character. And so it's just funny you bring up Blacklist, because yesterday I went and did an episode of Aaron's podcast yesterday, which was a lot of fun. Okay. Let's see. Brandon Martin writes, I never thought Tom Holland was in Venom, but Schnepp said he is. It is hard to disagree with the Oracle. We will see. Well, here's the thing. I brought that up yesterday on The Weekly Hero. Me and Robert Meyer Burnett were talking about that. Schnepp was told a long time ago that Tom Holland was in Venom. Now, Schnepp sometimes had people who had no idea what they were talking about telling him stuff. That quite often did not pan out to be true. But Schnepp knew a lot of people. And some of those people did know what they were talking about. And sometimes Schnepp would get told stuff that was true. So that's definitely the case. Was the information that Schnepp got told about Tom Holland being in Venom true or not true? We don't know. We'll find out soon. Of course, you guys know that I think the only other explanation other than Sony is just embarrassed of this movie and they're trying to hide it from everybody. They're trying to hide the reviews from everybody. The only other possible explanation is that something so radically big happens in this movie. Something like Tom Holland being in it, or Spider-Man showing up, or another MCU character, or Venom getting dusted at the end of it, or something that draws a direct connection between Venom and the MCU. That is the only thing that would justify Sony hiding this movie. Other than the fact that they're just trying to hide it and they're embarrassed of it and they have no faith in the film. So, if that's the case, that explains it, that does go along with what Schnepper used to say, that he thought, he was told that Tom Holland was going to be in this movie. I have no idea. Like I said, sometimes he got told stuff by some really wacky people that was way out there and never came true. Sometimes he was told stuff that absolutely turned out to be true. Which one is this Tom Holland thing? I still don't believe he shows up in this movie. I do not believe Spider-Man shows up in this movie. I do not believe Tom Holland shows up in this movie. But if he does, you guys remember, Schnepp said it first. Schnepp said it first. And it would explain the whole hiding it from people at this point. So we'll have to wait and see. Holy Jeebus writes, Kiss Kiss Gangbang, John, and I'll never get over that one. John, I like the first Dark Phoenix trailer. I'm more glad that the tone seems closer to Days of Future Past than Apocalypse. Well, that's true. That's one of the reasons why I thought it was pretty solid, because you're right. The tone of it did feel a lot more in line with Days of Future Past and Apocalypse. Days of Future Past, to me, is a top 10 all-time comic book movie. Apocalypse is a very forgettable movie. I really didn't like Apocalypse the first time I saw it. Then I watched it again. It's like, it's not as bad as I remember, but still not great. Still not all that good, and still with a lot of problems. But yeah, that is one of the things to me as well that stood out to me, that, oh, thank goodness, this feels more like a Days of Future Past movie than it does Apocalypse movie. Busted Beatbox, I like that name, writes, ever since the Disney Fox deal was announced, I kind of wish they hadn't done Dark Phoenix X-Men, so that we could get an MCU X-Men sooner. Do you think this is a common feeling, and could it hurt its box office? Nah, this isn't going to hurt its box office, not in the least. The vast majority of the average film goer doesn't give a shit about the merger between Fox and X-Men and all that kind of stuff. It's just people like me and you who are in the minority that pay really close attention to this, and we're really looking forward to this. No, I'm totally stoked that they're doing this. Look, even if this Dark Phoenix X-Men movie wasn't happening, it would not make a Marvel X-Men movie happen any sooner. Not any sooner at all. I'm still not happy that Marvel's going to be making X-Men movies, to be honest with you. It's like, oh good, more comic movies being made by the same company. Granted, I love this company. I love the Marvel films. Everybody knows this. I shouldn't have to defend that. But the fact of the matter is, One of the big one of the sad things about this, and what's even sadder, is most people don't even realize it or aren't acknowledging it. One of the really sad things here is that we're going to get less diverse voices in telling these stories. Now it's yet more comic book movies that are just under the same banner. And I don't think that's a good thing. I just don't think it's a good thing. Fox has put out some of the greatest comic book movies of all time. X-Men, X-Men 2, Deadpool, Days of Future Past, Logan. Fox has put out some of the greatest comic book movies ever. And they've been very different from the types of movies Marvel does. And that's great. That's great. DC does different types of movies. Sony Spider-Man movies used to be very different. Fox, their X-Men films been very different from Marvel movies. And now they're just going to be made by the same company. I'm sorry, I can't get excited about that. I can't get excited knowing that had the X-Men always been with Disney and Marvel, we never would have gotten Logan. One of the top 3 comic book movies ever made. We never would have got it. We never would have gotten Deadpool. We never would have gotten Deadpool 2. These films never would have happened. And things like X-Men 2, X-Men Days of Future Past, these would have been radically different movies. I love Marvel. I love Disney. I love the films they do. Everybody knows this. But I'm sorry, I'm just not ever going to get on board with this. I'm sure they'll make X-Men movies and they'll be great and I'll enjoy them and I'll have a lot of fun with them. But we have lost something. And it feels to me like everybody's so caught up in the hysteria of, oh, Marvel's getting X-Men back, that we are losing sight of the fact that we are going to get more comic book movies that are just the same. And, and everybody's just brushing over the fact, dudes, we never would have had Logan. We never would have had Deadpool. These things never would have happened if Disney had had their hands on the X-Men films up to this point. They never would have existed. Some of the greatest comic book movies ever wouldn't even exist. It also means we're going to get less comic book movies every year. Because Marvel can only crank out... Look, Kevin Feige only has so much capacity. They can only put out so many films a year. So look, I have no doubt that Kevin Feige is going to do great things with X-Men. I have no doubt. I am just, as a fan, lamenting the fact that we are losing one of the voices that was different from Marvel's. Did they put out some crappy movies? Yeah. But did they put out some of the best fucking damn comic book movies ever? You're damn right they did. And now those are gone. And we're going to get more comic book movies made by the people who do a great job, but have the same sensibilities as all their other films. And I'm sorry, it's not something I celebrate. It's not something I'm excited about. I'm not excited about the idea of fewer voices telling these comic book stories. Not excited about it. And I'll be frank with you, all my brothers and sisters in film fandom, with all the love of my heart, I think it's a real short-sighted thing to go, yay, Marvel's doing it. I think it's a really short-sighted way of looking at it. But that's subjective. That's just how I feel. I just feel like we're not looking at this from a bigger picture point of view. It's very disappointing to me. I'm very sad about it. Even though I hated Apocalypse. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it. Even though I didn't, like X-Men Last Stand. Even though I didn't like X-Men Origins Wolverine. Even though I didn't like those films, they put out some amazing comic book films that have influenced the industry as a whole, and these films never would have happened. Never would have existed. You get excited now about the idea of R-rated comic book movies. Guess what? If it wasn't for Fox, nobody would be talking about R-rated comic book movies. Nobody. It was Fox with Logan and Deadpool that made the conversation of R-rated comic book movies serious amongst Marvel and things. Bob Iger said a while ago, yeah, I guess we could look at doing R-rated stuff. He never would have said that had Fox not taken the lead and shown the industry we can do gritty, hard, violent, awesome, mature comic book movies. Look at Logan, which damn well should have got a Best Picture nomination. Now they're going to be under Marvel. An already overcrowded cinematic universe that already has 5,000 characters. And now you're going to introduce another 5,000 characters. And they're going to be sparse and spread out. and more films that are going to have the same tone. Having the same tone doesn't mean they're not going to be great. 6 of my top 10 all-time favorite comic book movies are Marvel films. I just loved it that there was another company out there doing it too, and now there's less. And I'm sitting down watching a bunch of my fellow film fans celebrating that there's going to be less. I don't know. I stand in the minority. I understand I stand in the minority. I'm very comfortable standing in the minority, but that's just kind of how I feel about it, dudes. VIP Nitrix writes, "Hey John, so my homie still believes Ray is a Mary Sue. I've heard this point of view, but still can't understand how she is a Mary Sue. Can you please explain?" No, it's an idiotic point of view. Granted, I'm saying that from my opinion, it's an idiotic point of view, but it's a subjective thing too, and everybody's opinion on it is their own, and that's fine. But to me, it's a ridiculous notion. You have to anybody who calls Ray Mary Sue, to me, is being very, very selective in their memories and just looking for excuses to try to trash on something they don't like, when really, you don't need an excuse to trash on something you don't like. People feel they need to justify not liking something. No, if you don't like it, you don't like it. You don't need to make up excuses. Ray is a naive as hell, jump to conclusion, often... with a huge blinders on kind of character that is, quite frankly, often very short-sighted, often easily manipulated and taken advantage of. She's kind of a pushover in many ways. I mean, there are so many problems. Like, morally, she's got a very solid moral code and a very solid moral core, I should say. That's fine. Lots of characters have that. We never complain about that when it's a male character that has an unshakable moral core to them. But she's naive, she's easily manipulated, she's all this kind of stuff that, I'm sorry, if you're calling her a Mary Sue, you simply don't know what a Mary Sue is. I'm sorry. It's just that. If you don't like the character, that's perfectly fine. I got no beef with you if you don't like the character. That's right, there's characters I like and that I don't like, there's characters you like and that you don't like for your own reasons, that's fine. But to call her a Mary Sue is either A, to demonstrate that you don't actually know what a Mary Sue is, or B, you're not able to articulate why you don't like them, so you just make up some BS and say, she's a Mary Sue. It's like, well, no, the things they do with her in the movies clearly point that she's not a Mary Sue, so you're either just making that up as an excuse to say something, or you don't actually understand what a Mary Sue is. But again, it's all subjective, and it's up to individual opinions. But yeah, when I see that, that's the thoughts that go through my head. It's like, it's a ridiculous notion. And again, I'm not saying they should like the character. Not at all. If you don't like the character, you don't like the character. But to me, it's like saying, I didn't like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Conan the Barbarian because he's not muscular enough. He's not muscular enough to be Conan, so I don't like him in that movie. Okay. Perfectly fine that you don't like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Conan. If you don't like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Conan, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But it's ludicrous to say that one of the reasons because you don't think he's big enough. He was Mr. Olympia. There is no human being at the time who was bigger or more muscular than him. For you to criticize, he's not a muscular enough actor to do it. That's a ridiculous thing. It's fine if you don't like him. It's fine if you don't like him. But to me, it's very obvious that out of all the things you could criticize about Arnold Schwarzenegger's Conan, his muscularity is clearly not one of them. I mean, and to me, that's kind of the same thing with Ray. It's like, hey, if you don't like Ray, that's fine. There are things you can criticize about Ray for sure. But to call her a Mary Sue when there's so many flagrant flaws with the character, to me, that's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous notion to me. But whatever. Everybody has their own point of view. And your opinion and your point of view is no less or no more valid than mine. So that's the bottom line of it all, though. Doesn't mean I can't be perplexed by it. But, hey, it's all subjective. Let's see. Ricardo Ramirez writes, I just started watching Sons of Anarchy. Oh, good for you, man. Good for you. Wow, why didn't I see this earlier? I love this show, and now I know why it's one of your favorite shows of all time. It is in my top 3. It's in my top 3 all-time. My top 3 all-time favorite shows is number 1, the Ronald Moore Battlestar Galactica. That's my all-time favorite series. And then in no particular order, the next two are Sons of Anarchy and Spartacus. Those are my 3 all-time favorite shows. And I envy you, Ricardo, that you get to watch it for the first time. Because that's something I can never do again. I can never watch Sons of Anarchy again for the first time. You get to do that, and I'm very, very envious. All right, last 2 questions of the day. Samantha Elliott writes, the Transformers at the start of Bumblebee trailer are Bay style. So is Bumblebee. Our G1 look just used for Cybertron scenes as a nod to fans? What if we've seen all there is of G1 and Bumblebee? Will fans be disappointed? Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it makes sense narratively, then that's fine. If it makes sense narratively, then that's fine. You know, if narratively on Cybertron they had one look, they come to Earth, they have another. If that's your narrative, as long as it fits the narrative, that's fine. So I'm okay with that. Yeah, I think people will be fine with it as long as it makes sense to the story. As long as it makes sense to the story, I honestly feel people will be okay with it. Now, there are going to be some people, because of this trailer, that are going to go in maybe having the misperception or the misconception that this movie is going to be all G1 all the time. Like, we're going to see Ironhide and Ratchet fixing up other Autobots and all that. There may be people going with the misconception that this is going to be an all G1 movie. And maybe for those people, they're going to go in and there's going to be a lot of more modern taste in it and they might walk out disappointed. I get that. But honestly, I think for the most part, look, a lot of people that are going to go see this movie never watched the G1 cartoon. A lot of us have, but there are going to be a lot of people that never have. But even I think a lot of us who have seen the G1, I think we understand this isn't a G1 movie, right? I think most of us know that. I'm certainly not going into Transformers, or I'm certainly not going to be going into Bumblebee expecting to see all G1 design throughout the whole film. I'm certainly not expecting that. Whatever I get, I'll be happy for. If all we get is 2 or 3 minutes of it, I'm going to be happy for that 2 or 3 minutes. But it's just the design. The design of look, I'm going to tell you this, and a lot of people don't get this, but I really believe this. If this movie is great, let's go bad. Let's say this movie's bad. It won't have anything to do. If Optimus Prime shows up in his modern look, his modern Bay-ish look, if the movie's bad, having him in his G1 look will not transform, will not transform this movie from a bad movie into a good movie. It's just the design. It'll make me smile, but it's not going to change a bad movie into a good movie. If this movie is inherently a bad film, changing, and Starscream is the Michael Bay looking Starscream for most of the time, having him in the G1 look for the most time, but changing nothing else about the movie is not going to transform this movie from a bad movie into a good movie. So, yeah, I get there. Some people are going to be going in looking for a lot more G1, but I think the vast majority of the people don't care. And then there's a bunch of us who do care, but aren't expecting a lot of G1 design anyway. You know what I'm saying? At least that's what I think. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I think. Thanks a lot for the question, Samantha. All right, let's see. Nosferatu writes, the jerk store called. They're running out of you. What? Oh, crap. I know. What? I'm forgetting now. Oh, that was actually, I thought it was a movie code. That's actually a Seinfeld one. Yeah, that's a section the jerk store called. They're running out of you. A good Seinfeld line. All right, that will do it for me for today, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. Listen, don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter simply at John Campea. You can find that down there. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. Guys, just click on the subscribe button, become a subscriber. And guys, if you enjoy this channel and you enjoy watching the videos, do me a favor, leave a comment, click the thumbs up button. These are all little things that help the channel a long way. Okay, that will do it for me for now, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.